Hello guys, Daniel Learmouth here, and it has been quiet, and there are reasons for it. So before I get into the reasons though, I went shopping again. Nice voice crack, well done. Yeah. I have bought games again. I went to Leeds yesterday and came home with sore legs and a bit less money than I had when I went. So I suppose I better start with the systems that I've got the fewest games for. So let's start off with Sega Rally Championship, medium right. This was actually one of the more expensive things I bought, ironically, even though it's probably not really worth that much. But yeah, there you go. Ooh. Yep, and that's slightly smudgy disc, but not terrible. Easily cleaned. I need to figure out where to put these. Put you there for now. You're just going to fall. Nope, you're fine. And one from a relatively new trader at the event yesterday. From Doorway to Darkness. Nice. I think they're based in Doncaster, I think. I'm actually not sure. It could be Doncaster. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's South Yorkshire. I'm not 100% sure, but Pilot Wings 64. This is the fifth N64 game I've got. I've got the original Pilot Wings on Super Famicom. That's handy. Let's have a look at what we got in here. I'm not sure what gives with the slight ribbing here, but it's a bit weird. The cartridge is in its plastic thing, looking pretty decent. We've got a manual with a little advice slip for power and a quick reference guide for controls. I think this one was also £18. Yeah, these were the two most expensive things. In the end, I didn't actually spend... Sorry about that. Nice. I forgot that it wasn't very flat at the bottom. Oh well. Right. Next up for the last of the systems with only the one game, Tales of Symphonia for the GameCube. Ironically enough, I did buy a copy of this game before, but it never turned up. This was when I bought what is it called? Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes from that importer that closed down and kind of let me on the leash for a few months until it stopped responding to anything I said. So yeah, that's fine. 12 quid. It's complete. Only problem is the disc wants to go walkies. Well, one of. Because that's sat right there. But you can just about see that it's not sitting firmly in. Like this one is not coming out. This one, though, if I touch it, it wants to come out. And it's only being held in by the little flap here. So, I don't know why. It's not like this looks particular... That fell into my lap, fortunately. Great. That's enough of that. The adventures of buying video games. Who do it? So, now for PlayStation stuff. The stuff that I bought the most of. Only 2 games for the PS1, but first off, Chrono Cross. I'm amazed that I haven't got this already. It's pretty simple. It's 2 discs. I haven't looked at these. That's fair few scratches on that. Nothing deep, but not amazing. And second disc, that's I hope that's just a smudge and not an actual scratch, because that looks a bit long. Otherwise, slightly dusty, but shouldn't be too much of a problem. And there's a slip to remind you that yes, indeed, it is the sequel to Chrono Trigger. Yeah, brain. We'll get on to the whole brain thing later. And Star Ocean: The Second Story. Now, annoyingly, big ass front sticker on the front because imported. But apart from that, it's quite an unusual thing to have, because if you look, there's a Square Enix logo. Now, this was originally released in 1998, back when it was just Enix that handled this game. But this is the PS1 Bucks release, which came out later, and because of that, it ended up getting the updated name of Square Enix when the two merged. So that's fun, and all of that stuff. That's a pretty crusty graphic for the manual. In fact, just crusty graphics on the manual entirely. Jesus. The actual contents of the manual don't look too bad. Just look fairly ordinary RPG stuff. You know, got your roster of characters and all that, and the discs in the thing. Yeah. I haven't actually looked at these. These look a little dusty, but not bad. Yeah, just dust. No particularly bad scratches or anything. Just the big sticker on the front. So yeah, that's all for the PS1 stuff. And now, the PS2 stuff, of which there are 5 games. So, Onimusha Dawn of Dreams, the last in the series. So, yeah, that's the only one I don't have yet. Impressively enough, it's a 2-disc affair. I've noticed that every single one of the games that I've got so far, particularly the PS1 and the GameCube, 2 discs, and this is maintaining that trend. Yep, just a bit of dust for the first disc, and the second disc. Ooh, that's... what is that? That is dirt. This is a dirty disc. Okay, that's gonna need cleaning. I have no idea how I'm going to set this up for now. That'll probably fall over in a minute. Next up, Suikoden 4. I've got Suikoden 1, 2 and 3, so 4 follows on from that. Oh, hey, 8. I forgot to take the stickers off. I actually don't really know all that much of anything that goes on in the series beyond the first 2, so yeah. I guess that it's somewhat aquatic. There's boats and stuff. Yeah, just slightly smudgy, but not terrible. Just needs a wipe. All I need to get is Suikoden 5 and maybe even get the HD collection that's coming out soon. We'll see. That'll do. No, it won't. Next, Xenosaga Episode 1. I figured it was cheap. May as well see what it's like. And if I remember correctly, it's got Yuki Kajiura for the soundtrack, I think. I can check here. Nope, I am wrong. I don't think it's this one. I think it's a later one. This one appears to be Yasunori Mitsuda. Okay, fair enough. What did Mitsuda do? Did he work on Chrono Trigger? I think he worked on Chrono Trigger. Anyway. And Soul Calibur 3. I've got Soul Calibur 2. The box is a little bit scuffed, as you can see here. There's slightly peeled away, but whatever. Could be worse. Chunky player's manual, as you'd expect. I didn't notice that there was a sort of comic thing going on. And for the disc itself, let's have a look. It is almost pristine. There's a few small scratches, slight bit of dirt, but honestly pretty good. It would probably work just fine on its own. And finally, rather unusual pick, but I figured I may as well because it's something I haven't really played in years. Haven't touched this series since, oh god, the early 2010s. But yeah, I picked up the original Ratchet and Clank, so that'll be fun to go back on and see what it was like. I know that it tends to get better from the second game onwards, but that's more because this is the first time they tried something like this and it was kind of an experiment. So yeah, that's not too bad. Oh, what's the disc like? I didn't check the disc. The disc is... what the hell is that around the ring at the bottom? Is that liquid that's just kind of dried, or is that sort of... I think that's just water or something. That's just kind of... yeah, if I rub my finger on it, it just kind of goes away slightly. I think that's probably just some water or whatever that somehow got onto it. I don't know how. I can't tell if the disc is dirty or not. It could just be that the texture of the thing is a bit, I don't know, sandpapery. It's like rubbing your thumb on a stone. But yeah, those were the 10 games that I got. That was £135 in all. Pretty good for what I got, so I'm pretty happy with that. But I should address why I have been quiet, and the main thing is I've been kind of lazy. So the script for the Enfusia review is sort of done. There is still bits that I need to add because I haven't finished the game. And I kind of want to finish the game before I end up uploading the review. But I haven't been doing that because the whole Japanese study thing. So recently I've been putting more work into studying Japanese. Before, I was kind of struggling with trying to figure out how to learn the grammar, and to be honest, I still am. But in general, it's mainly a case of I've been mainly focusing on vocabulary, and it's kind of catching up to me in a way that I don't want it to. So what I've ended up doing recently is reading a whole bunch of books. Now, I say a whole bunch, I've only read 2 of them so far, but I've got a whole bunch here anyway. These are bunko, little novels published in an A6 size format. very popular in Japan. I don't know why it's not really a thing here, really. You can buy A6 size books, but not many of them, and they tend not to be especially easy to get. The more standard size for a book is more like this, where it's slightly bigger, whereas compared with this, yeah, not very big at all. By the way, read this. Main thing with studying Japanese is it's a pretty awkward language to learn if you focus on it from an Anglo-centric point of view, and it's something that you have to work your way out of, and I am struggling with that, which is why I've kind of decided, you know what, just dive right in on learning by reading. And so far, I have read 2 books. This was the first one I read, Konbini Ningen by Sayaka Murata. Would recommend it in either English or Japanese. It's really good. I've also read Kenji Miyazawa's Night on the Galactic Railroad. And yeah, it's a pretty decent thing. Has a couple short stories in it, shorter stories. Those are the 2 books that I have read. I am currently working my way through, if I can get it without everything just falling, because my organisation is dog. I've been working through Hideo Kojima's book, The Gifted Gene and My Lovable Memes, or I'm not even going to attempt that right now. I'll just embarrass myself. The problem here is what I have been doing alongside this. So, because I've been focusing on vocab, I have been using these books to mine. What that means is taking vocabulary that you don't recognise or understand or feel particularly confident about, and making something that will enable you to remember them. Now, I've been using for this purpose a program called Anki. It's designed specifically for making flashcards. So what I do is, I will give you an example here. What I do is, when I am reading a book, I will read through it with a pencil in hand, and I will write down anything that I don't immediately understand or recognise. So if I go through this and I find a word that I'm not particularly confident with, I will just write it down so that I can refer to it later. Now, this isn't a bad way to do it necessarily, it just takes a while. And when you're adding these manually onto Anki, it can accumulate. And the big problem for me is that with how many bits of vocab that I end up getting, it basically means I only end up reading so many pages at a time. Now, for these 2 books, it wasn't so bad. I could do somewhere between about 10 pages an hour reasonably comfortably. I can barely do 6 to an hour. It often means I only end up reading 1 chapter at a time, which is only averages about 5 to 7 pages at a time. And if I do 2 chapters, that means an hour and a half easily. Which means I only ever do them if there's 2 shorter chapters next to one another. And it basically means this takes a while. Now, one of the key reasons for this is that this is a particularly, how do I put it, essay-style book, because it's just things that Hideo Kojima has read and watched and listened to over the years. So you're going to get entries that talk about whatever that is, I don't know, Ultra 7 and Joy Division Yeah, there you go. But generally speaking, it's going to be a complicated affair to work with, and the language in it can be a little hard for me to follow, so I end up writing a lot down. Like, it's ridiculous, honestly. Fortunately, the last couple of days haven't been too bad. I've still got to do it today, but because of how I'm doing this, I am only about a quarter of the way through this book, and I have somehow managed to eclipse the amount of vocab that I've added onto here than what I got through reading the entirety of Konbini Ningen and Night on the Galactic Railroad. So that takes the biscuit, to be honest. At the very least, it's a pretty decent way to get into understanding how vocabulary interacts with grammar. So if I keep on with this, I will just eventually get used to how the grammar structures work and understanding how to read sentences. So I'm going to keep on doing that, but it does mean that doing all of this takes a while, and I get tired, and I don't want to do any more for the day. So that's basically where my attention has gone. But yeah, I don't know when Enthusia will be done. I want to get it done sooner rather than later, but I don't know when sooner is. All I know is I'm liking learning Japanese, but good God, is it annoying sometimes. But yeah, that's been what I've been up to recently. That's the PS2 games. That is stuff falling all over. That's Pilot Wins 64, Sega Rally Championship. Oh, that's just a case. I'm worried about the disc rolling around. And these are getting away from me. Tales of Symphonia, Star Ocean The Second Story, and Chrono Cross. So, if you have any recommendations on what I ought to cover, please let me know. I'm open to pretty much anything. There is a link to my Blue Sky in the description if you want to follow me and see what I am up to there. And yeah, hopefully I'm streaming again soon. I don't know when, and we'll see. Anyway, this has been Daniel Learmouth. Sidi.